talk about old white women. This is a segment about old white women from California who don't want to let go of the reins of power, even though they're not aware that they still have the reins in their hands. So Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House, representing California and San Francisco specifically, has announced that she, at the young age of 83, is running for re-election. And she goes into why, but here she is on MSNBC saying, yep, running for re-election.
I have agreed to stay on another term in order to help meet the needs that we have now. We're a resilient city. We've had AIDS. We've had earthquakes. Of course, we've all had pandemic. We intend to come out of this the resilient city that we are in even better. Now, at the same time, our democracy is at risk when we talk nationally. And globally, people are concerned about what it means if our democracy is at risk and what it means to the war in Ukraine and what it means to our relationships with NATO, and other alliances that we have. So I am motivated to do everything I can to win this election.
Yeah, win this election. We've been through everything here in San Francisco, the AIDS crisis and earthquakes. What year? I'm sorry, what year is this? You talk about the 89 earthquake? What year are we in? The AIDS epidemic of the 80s? She then sort of fast forwarded to the pandemic. Love that. But just like Pelosi on green screen of painted ladies in San Francisco saying that she is somehow still in touch with her district is just the funniest, most laughable.
I mean, listen, Pelosi she's had her time. I mean, she's done some good things. She's done some not so good things. I think the fact that she doesn't realize that it's time for her to pass the baton is more reason for her to pass the baton. She needs to, give the next generation the tools that they need to fight what's ahead, because she's seen it all, she's done it all. But clearly her time has passed, as you can see from the things that she's referencing. Like, she doesn't even know what we're fighting anymore.
Right. Absolutely. And she, her excuse basically for why she needs to stay is that she needs to be effective as a fundraiser. This is according to Politico. She said, "My focus is the House and presidency. You're in a stronger position as a candidate. You may not know this, but if you're not a candidate, you really can't raise money for yourself." I'm sure she didn't mean for herself. "And raising money for myself enables me to spend that on other people when I have more Manolos. You have more Manolos." She added, "For the House Democrats, though, I still need to be able to raise significant money for them as a candidate." Look, I don't dispute that she's an incredible fundraiser and that we live in a toxic super PAC, disgusting duopoly. Like, that is, yes, agreed. And sure, maybe she can raise more money as a candidate, but like, how awful is it to admit that? Like, it's like, you're so out of touch with your people. You're so out of touch with San Francisco. You're so out of touch with California. And yet you're just staying because you're going to raise as much money as you can. Like, I don't know. Isn't there a world where you just still raise that money, but for another candidate? Like, no one, look.
That's exactly right. It's like Obama isn't still in office, but you know how much money Obama raises for Democratic candidates? I mean,
Exactly.
let's take a cue here from that. It's like, you don't have to be in office, Nancy. You can still.
No. Yeah. And let's take a cue from Dianne Feinstein, because look, she is with it now, Nancy Pelosi. Like to be fair, she's seems to be pretty with it as an 83-year-old. Dianne Feinstein's 90. Like, she's gonna be, what is it gonna be, like 85, I guess, through her next term. It's just like, do we really want to risk you? I mean, forget passing the baton, just literally letting it go. But you're totally right.
Listen,
of all the San Francisco, of all the libs, who's going to be like, if you see a flyer, blankety blank, endorsed by Nancy Pelosi, everyone's voting for that person and will send money to that person. Shut
absolutely.
up.
That is absolutely true. I mean, and listen, we have seen what happens when people hold on too long. I mean, love RBG, but we know that she should have retired when Obama was still president. Right?
Yeah.
She knew that she was sick.
Yeah.
And look what happened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's take a cue from what we've done in the past and the mistakes that we've made. Stop trying to hold on to power for power's sake.
Yes,
Which
and
is what
especially
these women, are doing. We understand you like the perks, you like all the things that come along with it. You also like, legislating and all that stuff. But there is a time when you need to sit aside and let someone else, run this race.
absolutely. And it is also really sad and scary because it isn't clear who in her district would be, like who from like what, the SF City Council, or who from like the California Senate or legislature, like who's being tapped, like who's her next in line, other
But
than
that's
like,
the other thing.
do you know
It's
what I'm
like you
saying
weren't
though?
you weren't grooming somebody, like you weren't
No,
putting
exactly.
somebody in position to come after you. Like that's
Exactly.
we can't do that. We
The
can't do that. We
Democrats
can't leave
do.
this void.
We wish the Democrats were as much of groomers as Republicans say they are. Because you're totally right. And California is such a prime example. This state went to Bernie in 2020 in the primary. This state is so out of touch with people like Nancy Pelosi, and so out of touch with people like Dianne Feinstein, who, once again, had got shingles, was not in DC for a long time, now is in DC, and ironically under the care of a woman, of, I believe, one of Nancy Pelosi's daughters. So that's interesting. She
Mm.
also is she's not running for reelection, but she refuses to retire immediately, which means that if she cannot sit on her committees, if she cannot sit for votes, Democrats lose out. There is no leeway in the Senate, of course, in terms of how many votes we get to confirm judges and whatnot. And if she were to retire and do the right thing right now, if she were to retire right now, Gavin Newsom, the governor, would be tapped to appoint someone in her absence. And we know that he has said that he would appoint a Black woman to that position, and he has vowed to do that. However, because Barbara Lee, Representative Barbara Lee from Oakland, has been is in the race for that Senate seat, along with Katie Porter and Adam Schiff. We'll talk about him a little bit. What was once seen as like the person he would tap to fulfill the sort of interim role looks like it will absolutely not be. Here he is talking with Chuck Todd about that. And you can see how much he's dancing around this, and we'll talk about why. But take a look.
We're aligned with Feinstein in her office.
Sounds like you hope you don't have to make another appointment.
No, I don't want to make another appointment. I don't think the people of California want me to make another appointment.
Because you'd end up appointing both seats. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think that's, that said, it's my job, it's my responsibility. If we have to do it, we'll do it.
You're going to abide by your pledge?
Yeah, interim appointment. I don't want to get involved in the primary.
So no, you would not appoint anybody that is filed for this race?
It would be completely unfair to the Democrats that have worked their tail off. That primary is just a matter of months away. I don't want to tip the balance of that.
But you're going to abide by, it would be essentially a caretaker, an African-American woman.
We hope we never have to make this decision, but I abide by what I've said very publicly on a consistent basis, yes.
If I have to, I will, but we're following Dianne Feinstein's office because I'm really good friends with Dianne Feinstein, even though she just calls me Bob instead of Gavin when I see her. So,
I mean, this is a tough one. Obviously, Barbara Lee is she's in the race. It would seem unfair if he just tapped her and plucked her into that spot. And listen, to be honest, I'm not opposed to that. Yeah. He said that he would appoint a Black woman. He never said, I won't appoint a Black woman who's already running for this job. He never said that. So, I mean, it still should be open to her. Having said that, some people think that it would be unfair to the people that are in the race, but hey, what I would say is it's unfair for Black women all over the world. So I would put Barbara Lee in there. Give it to her. If they want to run against her in the race for the actual seat, fine, but give it to her.
I mean, what's interesting is that Barbara Lee is trailing behind in terms of fundraising. She
is.
Yeah, she's trailing behind Katie Porter, and she's of course trailing behind Adam Schiff, who again sort of made his name as the leader of the first Trump impeachment, and has kind of like played that card for a really long time, even though he is much more to the center than Barbara Lee. Again, one of the lone votes against the authorization of whatever it was, endless
For that
war.
reason alone, he should put her. For that reason alone. I mean, that's a legacy that you cannot, forget about. I
I
mean,
just
she was the
really
one person who had the spine to say,
no.
this isn't right. We
Yeah.
shouldn't go there. Nobody from Afghanistan or Iraq was on any of those planes. So like, why are we
Yeah.
waging this war against someone who didn't have anything to do with this? Right.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
she was the one
Yeah.
person who had the guts at that time to say it. They all have retrospectively said it, but she did it in the moment. So where is her cultural cachet for that?
I know.
She never really got it.
I know. And I look, I've said that I think Barbara Lee has been in. I think she is not necessarily my pick to like be in the Senate, since there are no term limits forever and ever and ever. I've met her. I think she's really great. I think she's also like tired of elected office. Like, she's very jaded. That was the sense I got. I do like Katie Porter's like energy, but I also think that, I mean, in terms of like getting in there and kind of being able to like run shit, and especially I think people can get intimidated by the Senate. You see someone like Katie Porter, she's pretty new. If she were in the Senate, who knows? This is a small body. Like, whereas I think someone like Barbara Lee could absolutely hold her own. And come in there, for lack of a better term, guns blazing, and stand up for, I think, what people of California want. She took issue with the idea that she was a caretaker, but that was put in by Chuck Todd. Like, he said, like, a caretaker. She said, "I'm troubled by the governor's remarks. The idea that a Black woman should be appointed only as a caretaker to simply check a box is insulting to countless Black women across the country who've carried the Democratic Party to victory election after election." I also say, I think that, why do we have these like promises from politicians like Biden? I promise the next will be a Black woman. I promise the next one. Just do it. Stop saying this. Stop making it like I promise I'm going to check that box and then I will be cool and good and woke and great. It's like, just do it. Stop talking about it and just do it. Because when you say it, it makes the right mad. It makes, the left mad. It makes Black women mad. Like, you feel like just like a box being checked again.
Yeah.
Just do it.
I mean, I think the reason why, and this is just my opinion, that they're making these proclamations is because the Black women have carried the water for the Democrats for so long without any reciprocity. And so now, we delivered Georgia. We've turned these states blue that you never thought would be. And so now they feel like they need to make some kind of overture publicly. But they don't, like you said, they don't need to. Just do the thing that we put you in office to do. Like, you don't have to make these grand gestures. I mean, make sure that there's welfare and social safety net available to people who should have it. Make sure that, like you talked about, childcare is affordable. Make sure that Black women and other minorities are making the same amount from doing the same job. It's like all the stuff that we elected you to do it.
that.
And then you won't have to make these kind of statements, because to me, if you're making those kind of statements, you aren't doing the things that we really want you to do.
Yes. Hey, deliver on universal health care, Gavin Newsom. Remember when you said that? You know how many Black Californians that would help? So it's just like,
Absolutely. It's like the day-to-day stuff that we need you to take care of. It's like, if you're going to put a Black woman in, great, that's fantastic. But our day-to-day lives are really our pain points, and we put you in office to take care of those things.
Exactly. And I don't disagree with you that, him appointing Barbara Lee at this point, given that she's in the race, could feel like it was, throwing it. That being said, we all know, first of all, we just got done talking about how close he is with Dianne Feinstein. So who is Feinstein supporting? Adam Schiff. Of course, 100%. Corporate Democrat protect corporate Democrat. So
Yeah.
you know Gavin Newsom supports Adam Schiff. You know that his people are like clawing at him and like, do not do this, right? You know that they're clawing at Dianne Feinstein saying, do not resign. We would rather have we would rather miss out on appointing justices. We would rather miss out on critical votes just so we can get another corporate Democrat in there for, I don't know, the next 50 years. Like, this is the short-sightedness and the kind of like toxic, again, like plutocratic BS in DC that you see bite us in the ass. And by us, I mean
This is why
normal
we've
people.
always talked about, there's really no leftist left, right? There's really nothing in the Democratic Party pushing them more left, right? We just keep getting this same old centrist corporate Democratic BS. I mean, one of the reasons why Nancy Pelosi, didn't support the squad as much, right? Because she's like, oh, they're going too far. No, they're not. Like, they're telling you this is what the people are asking for, and you keep telling them, pushing them, trying to push them back to some corporate center.
Yep.
That's the problem.
Absolutely. And it's like, don't you have enough? Don't you have enough? You have enough money. You got a house in Pack Heights. You got a freezer full of ice cream and a bunch of Manolo Blahniks. Everything's fine. And look,
Yeah.
I understand that Nancy and these people are like master legislators, but how short-sighted are you that you're not thinking about the next like 15 to 20 years or even 10? You think Nancy Pelosi in 10 years is going to? No. So yeah, fundraise now, but the short-sightedness of politics. And if there's one thing I agree on with Matt Gaetz on is, again, the term limits. The term limits, the term limits, the term limits. It would make all of this a lot easier. Or just even it out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, there's term limits on presidents. And I want Obama to run again. Yes, I said it.
I think even if you have term limits, I think as long as you have all of this dark money, in politics, term limits to me won't matter, because the next person up is just going to take that money and do the bidding of whoever has the most.
Sure.
So it's
There's
like,
there's a deep bench
you're swapping out
douchebag.
people, as long as the money is the undergird of it all, until you get rid of that, it's not going to matter.
That's why, I remember in 2020 during the Democratic primary, the first person who I was like, I love you forever, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth, Kirsten Gillibrand, like, just like the first thing she said was, I think we need money out of politics. And I was like, thank you, whatever you're, sign me up. And like Gillibrand is an example of like sort of she's almost like the good doppelganger of Kirsten Sinema.
Right.
But she's, like the Gen X. Like, again, we don't need all the way millennials. No one's saying it's got to be AOC. Can there be just a layer of Gen Xers who aren't so horribly, stuck in their ways?
Entrenched. Yeah. I mean, there's got to be like a group of somebody who's not there yet,
Yeah. And there's other people who need to resign. It's not just these Californians, but because we're here, like, and because honestly, I just feel like the state could do so much better. That's, it's important to talk about. Absolutely. And also the fact that Newsom wants to be president one day, clearly.
Yeah. When he was sitting in that chair, I just, the blue suit, the hair, like everything, I'm like, I'm just getting those I'm running for president vibes from him. Like, even the way he's talking about not interfering with something and doing, I was like, this guy.
What's annoying is that
he's gearing up for.
Yeah. And like, here's what's annoying about how last thing I'll say all this, our country's so far to the right that like Newsom, Feinstein, and Pelosi, let's say nothing of term limits, age, whatnot. Let's imagine they're all, 50. Like, completely fine Democrats. Yes, corporate centrists. Yes, a little progressive, but not for California. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're fine, but I really would expect for California, again, state that went to Bernie. Sure, we've got our Kevin McCarthy's. We got some of our right wingers. Like Fresno exists. Sorry, just kidding. But like a lot of like, we've seen Huntington Beach. You've seen the MAGA out there, but like, that is how that somehow they're painted as the leftists or in crazy liberal California. And you're like, oh my God, if only, So on a national level, I like the way Newsom talks. I like that he's more combative. I like that he's sort of the antidote to Ron DeSantis. Go off, like do it. But also, you have to deliver for this state. I feel like, politics should be like,
if you're going to be the antidote to Ron DeSantis, you have to be the left version of him, and he's not that.
No, exactly. You're totally
that's
right.
what that's always been my problem with the Democrats. It's like we have a Ron DeSantis, we don't have a Democratic version of him.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. In speech only, right? In sort of, Newsom can speak out against Ron DeSantis and the things that he's doing with migrants. It takes literally no sweat off his back to say, hey, it's wrong to bus migrants to Vice President Kamala Harris's house. Cool. Seems like a political stunt. It's a very other thing to actually do. And look, Newsom's done some good things. We're talking about childcare. He's expanding universal pre-K in this state. That's good for 4-year-olds. I'm looking forward to that. I'm not saying that nothing has been done, but you're totally right that it's like, where's the bold ideas? Mm-hmm. Where's the the shit where it's and delivering on them and making a big stink about it.
Because every time I turn on the television, there's a Republican saying some wild stuff, right? I mean, just out in not even left field. I don't even know, right field, right field, right?
Yeah.
And I never turn on the television and some Democrat is saying some leftist thing. Like I've never, it's just not there.
Let's democratize the energy grid. Go.
The closest we've got is Cori Bush, right? And Ilhan, and those are and they're what? They're Black women. They're the ones who are pushing.
Yes. Most of them are. This is the whole thing with it's so interesting. People are, Bernie would get a lot of shit. It's like, oh, but he's an old white guy. And it's just incredible, who he has inspired. And the squad is, if not maybe everyone but Katie Porter, if you consider Katie Porter inside or outside of the squad, all people of color, Jamal Bowman, obviously Ilhan Omar, everybody else, Ayanna Pressley, all women of color and people of color.
And you can make the case that is why we need more,
old white Jews. Yeah.
I mean, we just, we can't just have this homogenous looking Senate and House of Representatives. We see what that looks like, and we see the kind of policies that come out of that. So the closer people are to being poor and to poverty and to have had that in their lives, the more they legislate for people who have those circumstances. It's
exactly. If they only had
I think almost everybody in Congress and the Senate is rich, right? There's 90% of them are millionaires.
Yeah.
So how could you possibly expect them to legislate for people like me and you?
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.